The process of accepting a film role is so varied, but I think increasingly the more experienced I become, in the end I think it's the dialogue that you're going to have with the director. Every director is different. Say working with a director like Todd Haynes on I'm Not There, in which or about 6 of us played a version of Bob Dylan. He was incredibly visual, and so he compiled a folio of images of Dylan, but also the feeling of the era in which, you know, my particular Dylan existed. I could somehow see immediately the texture and the feeling and the world that I had to rise up to and inhabit. And someone like Scorsese, when in The Aviator, where I played Katharine Hepburn, the direction he gave me in what was the rehearsal process was that I didn't have to look anything like her. I could be blonde if I wanted to. And in the end, I think once I'd finished, I realised that what he was doing was liberating me from feeling that I had to do or be a looky-likey, that wasn't what he was interested in. And so he screened a lot of Hepburn's screwball comedies, which had a pace and a delivery and an energy.
Follow through is everything in golf, just like life. Don't you mind? Saw your scarf.
I mean, they're called screwball comedies. He wanted a feeling, an energy in the performance. And so I think a good director, in a way, throws those things out for actors to pick up if it's useful.
Oh, I adore the theatre. Only alive on stage. I'll teach you. We'll see some Ibsen. If the Republicans haven't outlawed him by now. You're not a Republican, are you? Couldn't abide that. How did you vote in 32?
Well, I did.
You must. It's your sacred franchise.
In a way, when one gets offered a role like Bob Dylan, as a woman, you're liberated from the get-go in terms of imitation. So even if I tried to imitate Bob Dylan, I couldn't. And in the end, it's not it's not your job. You're not making a documentary, you're making a work of fiction. And strangely enough, if the internal work isn't going on and doesn't lift off, if there's not some sort of connection either intellectually or spiritually, however you want to describe it,
well, I'm all used up.
If the internal work's not firing, then the character won't lift off.
Introduce you, Mr. Keenan Jones, arts editor and host of the BBC.
I remember you.
Yes, I was going to ask Mr. Quinn why he insists on putting us and the rest of the world on so. Some might be persuaded to doubt his sincerity.
Who said I was sincere?
The film immediately picks up on whether somebody is self-conscious. And the main thing, in terms of one's physicality, is to lose that self-consciousness.
You just want me to say what you want me to say.
Your body automatically shifts. I don't think I think, on this line, I'm going to twitch. Obviously, playing something like Benjamin Button, there was a big physical transformation required because the character moves from the age of 6 to 86.
It's been such a long time. There's so much I want to know. When did you get back?
In that particular instance, I thought a lot about my grandmother, who I grew up with, you know, about her hands and watching her age. So I drew on that a lot. But in the end, when you're performing the scene, you have to lose the conscious relationship to those physical gestures. Otherwise, I think what the audience sees, particularly in a close-up or even in a mid-shot, is all they register is the work. And same on stage, but definitely in film, is you don't want people to see your homework.
You rest here.
You always have to have a sense of levitation as an actor. At the same time as having to be in the character, in the moment, and not thinking about that stuff. You have to be aware of where your mark is, that you're in the right position to hit the right part of the shot. There's a dance-like quality to it. You know those things you see when people are learning to dance, those footprints? And you think, gosh, how is that ever going to work? There's a white pair of footprints there and there's a red pair of footprints there, and somehow that's the map of a dance. And if you look at a floor of you know, a set in a film, there's often, every actor gets a different coloured tape. And so there's a series of you know, sort of crossing over series of marks that have numbers on them, and that you have to learn the physical dance steps, which somehow become, if you're working well, just a part of the way your character moves.
I don't think it's done.
Well, I'm telling you.
Every time I start work, I think,
What makes you think you want to
I don't have a process. How do I start?
Well, his wife, she's a client of mine, and he thinks I'm trying to break up their marriage.
Are you?
And often vocal rhythms can be a way in.
Richard, why did we come here?
Maybe it's because I grew up listening to a lot of talkback radio, where you're not distracted by the visual, and you just listen to people's, I'm going to get very self-conscious now, people's hesitation, the way they form their thoughts.
You don't think I tried?
I think it reveals to you how they view their own intelligence, this level of certainty they have about what they say.
How do you provide for you and your son?
You know what I'm talking about. I get a little bit of money from the Social Security as a result of my husband's death. And I also give readings. Okay.
Psychic reading.
So I think that if one is able to connect to the language, then you can
You aware
connect to
that
the
in Hampshire
character.
County it's against the law for a psychic to set up shop and charge people money?
I don't charge money.
You just testified that you
No.
do charge money.
I accept donations. People give me gifts.
Oh, a distinction worthy
I
of
feel really
law.
fortunate that I trained as an actor at a theatre school. It doesn't work for everybody, but for me it gave me a series of problem-solving devices, and also it gave me a rehearsal process, because the thing with film, unlike theatre, is that there's very rarely any rehearsal time. I made a film with Barry Levinson called Bandits, in which I literally showed up. They'd been filming for 3 weeks. I showed up on set, had spoken to Barry 2 or 3 times on the phone, and walked onto set and had to come up with a character and fit into the style of comedy that they were all playing. And I think what I've realised is that I use the blocking rehearsals where you set out where you're going to move, where the camera's going to be, and even the first couple of takes to rehearse. And I've learnt to sort of rehearse at home, really.
I'm so sorry.
You have to be open to allow the work to reveal to you how to prepare. In that, it works for some people to go in every time with their box and dice, and they unpack it and they've got a process, and that works for them. And I think when I first started, I perhaps had, you know, a little skill set. But as you work more and more, you realise, in fact, that you don't know as much, or there's a lot more to learn. And so the main thing one needs to be is
there any blood?
To be open to, hopefully, a moment of inspiration, which might come from the costume designer. You know, it might come from the makeup artist, it might come from the cinematographer, and generally it comes from the dialogue with the other actors and directors. But in film, you rarely have time to rehearse, so a costume fitting and seeing the way a character is going to look and be seen by an audience can actually be the first step towards building a character. Sitting in front of, you know, in the makeup chair on the first day while you and the makeup artist nut through how you're going to look, and without you doing anything, that can have a huge influence on the way the character is read. Because the face in a close-up is like a map, it's a landscape. And makeup and costume design, indeed, can help the audience navigate which part of the face to look at.
I am myself.